Hey, I'm Alex Rackle from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review, although I am slightly changing up the format of our Week in Review. I've been doing Week in Reviews for a little over 3 years now, and the original concept of it was literally just that, a Week in Review. It would cover the videos I put up that week. The goal was to just go over, I did this, I did this, I did this, in case you wanted to watch any of those. In case you didn't want to watch any of those, you get a bit of a summary, and in case the summary makes you intrigued to watch them, well great, you have a new impetus to watch them. That was the original goal of the Week in Review series. And then I started to add things, and add more things, and add more things. It was originally never the News and Week in Review, it just became the News and Week in Review, and the games I played, and a topic of the week. And the topic of the week shifted into the Board Game Geek hotness, and then I also at points dabbled in movie reviews briefly here and there, because I watch things in the background, and I was like, you know what, let's talk about the things I watch. And it has adjusted and evolved over the years, and I'm sure it will continue to adjust and evolve, but I am making a big change to it, primarily because I think there are different things I do on this channel. There's different degrees of content I do on this channel that have started to feel a bit forced to me. There's things I love, make no mistake. I love the hobby. I love playing games. I love reviewing games. I love talking about a lot of different things in the board game space. I love topical videos. They are still some of my favorites. I love top 10 lists. They are still some of my favorites. There's a lot I do on this channel that I still love and enjoy. But there are certain things that have started to feel a drop forced to me, where I feel I'm doing it because I'm supposed to do it and not because I love doing it. And to a certain extent, that might happen. That's always going to be the case in some things. Putting up thumbnails, I have never loved creating thumbnails for videos, but they are essential for the YouTube algorithm, for recognition of your content, so people can get at a glance see, oh, there's a Board Game Co video. Things like that. Timestamps, I've never loved doing timestamps. I do them because you appreciate it. And I'm willing to put the work in on some things here and there that you appreciate. B-roll, perhaps not so much. Timestamps, I'll make sure you have those as much as I possibly can. And so there's always going to be a degree of work behind things you do in life. No matter what you do, no matter how much you love your job, there will be things that are work. The tricky part is that can be okay for some of the things that are behind the scenes. When it's me on camera, if I'm not passionate, if I'm not excited, if I feel like I'm just checking off boxes, that will eventually come through in the content, and I don't want that to happen. And so I am currently in the process of trying to find and refine certain things that I do on the channel to try to take them back again for me. Now, there's not a lot of things, don't get me wrong, you don't need to go looking through every single video and wondering how many I hated doing. That's not the case at all. That's not, and never do I hate doing a video, but it's more like, am I still passionate about the way I am doing this thing, or have I fallen into patterns? Now, that doesn't mean there'll be large, rapid changes on any number of things. Right now, for today, that just means that the Week in Review is changing a drop. I'm taking out the things that I feel I have started to force myself into doing, and I'm shifting to a presentation and adjustment that I think is more natural to what I want to currently do. And yes, it might change again. It might change again in 2 months, in 6 months, in a year, I don't know. I think I always need to ensure that for myself, to keep this interesting, to keep this passionate, to make sure I'm always excited about what I do. If it means keeping things the same when they're working, I will do so. And if it means changing things when they're not, I will do so. I need to ensure that I walk into every single video with as much excitement for what I'm doing as I possibly can, as I do for many of the videos I do already, but I want to make sure it's for everything and not just most of what I'm doing. Anyways, that was a long preamble over what is basically a small minor change to the Week in Review. The small minor change is as follows, and in future Week in Reviews I'll probably note, hey, in this video I mentioned some changes, feel free to watch that or not. But the few small minor changes for the Week in Review are as follows. Number 1, I am no longer searching out news. I'm not going to be searching for news to put into the Week in Review. Until now, I have always done so. I've always scoured the internet trying to find things that might be relevant so that I can have a padded out news section, which is not ideal. Not ideal in any way. I think what I'm going to be doing going forward is I will still talk about news and things that I think are worth knowing, that I do want to share, that I am excited about. But I'm not going to be trying to check off the box, do I have news this week? If I don't have news, I don't have news. If I do have news, I do have news. And I'm only going to talk about the things that I think excite me, or that I think are exciting enough to excite you, that I'm passionate about it. But very often I'm doing things like, oh, Embracer Group, and Embracer Group has a new CEO and all that, and I don't care. And maybe you do. Maybe you do, but and there are things I do. It's not that I don't care about anything to do with Embracer, it's that sometimes I'm trying to fill out my quota for news pieces. So that's the first change. News, despite being called News and Week in Review, and despite the fact that it'll almost certainly always still have news pieces, the weeks it doesn't, and the weeks where I only have 2 things to share are the weeks I only have 2 things to share, and that is going to be what it's going to be. Number 2, the Board Game Geek hotness. I was excited about the first few weeks I did it, and since then I've kind of been checking off boxes. I'm not excited about the hotness quite as much. It changes too flippantly and too quickly for me to really be heavily engaged in the BGG hotness. And usually the things that are hot, I already know about. The things that I care about in the hotness, I already know about from other things that I actually care about. So the BGG hotness is out. I will not be covering the BGG hotness going forward. Instead, I'm putting in a new segment, and no, not just to fill out the week in review. I actually at first was debating not putting in an additional segment at all, but I'm going to be doing a creator spotlight. This is something I've always been passionate about. I've always been passionate about sharing when I like what other creators are doing, and this doesn't just mean content creators. I'm going to be doing a creator spotlight every single week because I think I can do it for a long time before I get bored of it. And again, as I said already, if I do find that it's no longer exciting and that I'm forcing it, I will stop doing it or take a break from it. That's okay. But for a while now, I'll be doing a creator spotlight on whether it's a designer, whether it's a content creator, whether it's a publisher, whether it's an artist, whoever they might be. If there's someone whose work I think is worth sharing, I am going to put it into the creator spotlight, a small little segment in the week in review that will probably be, honestly, 30 to 60 seconds. I can't imagine it being a very long segment. If I have more to share, I'll share more. But if not, not. But I'm going to talk about different people and or companies in the space who are doing good things and why I personally like them and why you might. In many cases, you might know them. They might be a content creator you've seen on this channel. It might be a company whose work you've seen on this channel or you know elsewhere. But nonetheless, I'm just going to share why I like that person, company, thing, whatever it is, once a week until I run out of things to talk about. And then lastly, I'm adjusting the way I do the week in review as far as the normal structure. When I cover the videos of this past week, I usually cover a, hey, Sunday we did this, Monday we did this, Tuesday we did this, and go through that. I'll still be doing half of that, but I'm breaking it up into 2 sections. I'm breaking it up into the Sunday we had this video, Monday we had this video, but then anything in which I talked about games, so the reviews, the previews, the gameplays, those are not going to be in that section. Rather, I'm going to have a separate section, so I'm going to break it up. It's going to be the week in review, and then the games covered this week. And in the games covered this week, I'm going to talk about, okay, this week on the channel, we had 5 games. Here are the 5 games, and here are some past review thoughts about those games. I think sometimes the type of things I would say in a review are different than the types of things I would say from a general conversational approach. If you want a review of a specific game, I will say some batch of things. But separately in the week in review, I might talk about why that was or wasn't a fit for me, some of the conflict I had around rating it or why not. And some weeks will be more interesting. Honestly, this is not the best week for that. This week is going to be a little less interesting as far as the games we covered, but you'll get a better sense of it as we go on. It gives me an opportunity to be a bit more, what's the right word? Conversational, there's a different word, casual, frank, not frank, because the frank implies that I'm hiding something in the review. It's not about hiding, it's about context and conversational and casualness to the games I covered. And that is basically how we're going to structure the week in review. And so now that you have that kind of context as far as how the week in review is changing, at least for now, let's go ahead and start off with our news. Because we do still have a few news pieces this week, we're going to go ahead and go into this, starting off with Primal Challenges. Primal, from Essen Games, Primal the Awakening, they are introducing a series of challenges where they're having a variety of creators dive into specific challenges, and yes, you too can join, share your results, and all of that. This week, we already went ahead and dove into it. You're going to see the video going up, well, this past week. You saw the video go up this past week, or we'll talk about that more, but basically, they're doing a challenge specifically with Kaja over here and specific rules adjustments to taking down Kaja. I will not spoil how that went in case you haven't seen it yet, but what I will say is check out the pinned comment for some additional notes that are worth seeing, both some small clarifications on something we should have done but didn't, and then general thoughts on the challenge. But overall, really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to diving into more of these challenges. But check out a variety of your creators a variety of creators you follow or not about these challenges, and or dive into it yourself. We also have over on GameFound, we have Bardsung, Tale of the Forsaken Glade. Bardsung is coming back from Steamforged Games. I am excited about this with a heavy dose of skepticism. The heavy dose of skepticism is the fact that Bardsung as a game, I enjoyed parts of it. The original Bardsung, the first edition, I enjoyed many parts of it, but I felt the grind was way too much relative to the amount of growth and development you had within the game cycle. And so to that end, more Bardsung doesn't interest me. But I also have a good relationship with the people from Steamforged Games, and I enjoy talking to them, and I've talked to them in the past about why Bardsung didn't work for me, and they've asked me questions, and they've told me that many of the things that they're changing in this game are based on the feedback they've gotten from myself and others in terms of how to keep people more involved and invested throughout the entire cycle and not just the upgrading and whatnot. So I am very intrigued because I know from at least Horizon Zero Dawn that they took feedback into account and made a much better game for Horizon Forbidden West. But I am also, I don't know, I'm intrigued. I am intrigued, excited, not sold, but prepared to be convinced. Does that make sense? I'm open to being convinced. And so we'll see, ultimately. I'm sure I'll be playing it at some point. That's going to be Bardsung, Tale of the Forsaken Glade. Then we have Essen Idols over here. Essen Idols is going to be coming to you from Connor McGooey from Inside Up. This very much seems to be leaning into the world of Block and Key. I mean, it's called Essen Idols instead of Block and Key. But this is going to be a pick up and deliver game with randomized pathways from Inside Up. Looks intriguing, looks fun. I don't love pick up and deliver, so I'm not totally sold. I do love the art and presentation, so that has me going a little more. But I also don't love Block and Key, so not excited there. I think there's a combination of things that have me both excited and not excited for Essen Idols. And that is basically what we have for, is that all we have? That's all we have for the board game news. Which brings us to my Creator Spotlight for the week. The Creator Spotlight this week, I'm going to start off specifically because of some reels that she did. Specifically, my Creator Spotlight this week is going to be Carly from Board Game Buzz. If you haven't seen her content already, Carly is a fantastic content creator with a heavy presence on Instagram as well as on YouTube. On YouTube, her videos are slightly more conversational, review adjacent, with lifestyle, top 10 lists, all those kinds of things. I think if you enjoy content like Jenna from the Board Game Garden, Thinker Themer, Amy and Maggie there, if you enjoy that kind of laid-back conversational content, I think Carly has more along those lines, more content that is just very low-key, very both a dash of excitement to keep you invested, but also a dash of laid-back just vibes and whatnot. Overall, her content on YouTube is incredible, but I also think her content on Instagram is even better. This is not to diminish her content on YouTube. You can watch any number of videos. I've talked about her stuff in the past. If you watch my month in review series, I usually call out a bunch of videos that I've enjoyed, and Carly has been in there a few times because she's had videos that I enjoyed, shockingly enough. But over on Instagram is where you'll find the stuff that really makes her content shine. And in particular, I highly recommend you watch this video over here. This one that, you can't see what I'm pointing at. The one on the screen that's currently third from the left over there, with Zach from IV Games. Honestly, if you're unsure, just watch that entire top row. You're not going to be losing out that much. But that video, I'm not going to play it here because I don't know the content and monetization and all those things. So I'm not going to get any, I don't want to deal with any copyright strikes or any of that. And there's music in it because it's real. But that is an excellent, excellent reel. One of her better ones in my opinion, although in general her reels are fantastic. She has anything from reels to just funny things. She has the 2020 rule for burnout. I highly recommend checking that out. In general, over on Instagram, her reels are incredibly entertaining, well done. Their structure they're incredible. They're incredible. It's the stuff that I think it is her more popular content. I think it's more popular content for a reason, because I think it is creative, catchy. It really pulls you in and hooks you. If you haven't checked out Carly Carly from Board Game Buzz, if you haven't checked her out both on YouTube and on Instagram, I highly recommend checking out her content. It is, especially on Instagram in particular, because they're like minute-long clips. This is the kind of stuff, if you go to her page on Instagram and watch her reels, and if you pick, let's say, 10 reels to watch, not even 10 reels, let's pick 5 reels to watch. If you pick 5 reels to watch and you aren't overly impressed by 3 of them, I'd be surprised. And they're short-form content, easy to watch, highly recommend checking it out. And that is basically what we have for our news part of the video, as well as our Creator Spotlight. Which brings us to the Week in Review. The Week in Review, and we do still have games I played a little bit. We'll talk about it as far as we get to that section. But for the Week in Review, we're going to go through a few things, starting off with this past Sunday. This past Sunday, we had the 10 best parts about being a content creator. This one, what's fascinating, by the way, what's fascinating is the drive to negativity is fascinating, because I did 2 videos. I did a while ago, I did 10 worst parts of being a content creator, and then today I did 10, or this week I did 10 best parts of being a content creator, which got so much less interest from the audience, as far as people are fascinated by what I hate about this job, and they aren't quite as interested in the things I love about this job, even though I'm doing this job, which means to me, inherently, the things I love are so much more powerful, because if they weren't, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Hopefully that tracks. And yet, despite that, the worst parts are the things people are more interested in. There is a natural, this is not a blame game, there is a natural proclivity towards negativity in anything. People would rather see top 5 reasons why, let's say, what's a popular game right now? I don't know, Harmonies. People would rather watch a video right now of top 5 reasons why Harmonies is the worst game, will inherently do better than top 5 reasons why Harmonies is the best game. Clickbait, or even just negativity in general, does pull people in. Nonetheless, if you are interested, if you did watch the top 10 worst parts of being a content creator, and you're curious why I'm still here, why I'm still doing this, why I love what I do, well, the top 10 best parts of being a content creator will answer that, going through some of the things that I enjoy the most about this space, about the things in this space, and the reasons why, despite some of the hardship of this job, and there are hardships to this job, I still have no plans of ever doing anything else. If you wrote me a blank check for the rest of my life, if I did not need money, I might adjust some of the ways I did content creation, but I would still be here because it's not just the board game hobby I love, it's talking about board games I love. And so I like it. I like it is what the point is. Anyways, on Monday we had 2 back and not to back, going through a bunch of crowdfunding campaigns, some heavy hitters this week. It wasn't a very big week as far as the campaigns, but there were definitely some heavy hitters from Cyberpunk to oh my gosh, the Puerto Rico to Ra and the Priest of Ra and all that stuff. So a bunch, was Priest of Ra in there? No, it was Ra and Write, and then the Ra Traders. Priest of Ra is a different game that actually was a roll and write in the Ra universe, a whole different conversation. Anyways, that was Monday's 2 back not to back. On Wednesday we had top 10 Essen Games. I was planning on doing several lists around Essen, and I may still be able to get one more, I don't know, but at the very least I did my top 10 Essen games that I'm looking forward to in some way, or want to know more about, want to learn more about. You can check out that video as well. On Friday I had an interesting video where basically I said I'm taking the week off. And you may not, if you missed that, you can go ahead and watch that. I'm not really taking the week off. I think I titled it, I'm taking the week off, sort of. Which basically means next week, which right now it's Saturday, I guess. This week upcoming is WSBG, and I'm going to be at WSBG. Now, normally, over the past 3 years of this channel, whenever I have left in any way, shape, or form, I mean, for 3.5 years-ish, maybe 4 years, I don't know how long, for a very long time now, I have not missed a single video at any point on, well, no, I've missed individual videos. I have never gone a day without a video. So if it's supposed to be a three video day, sometimes it became a 2 video day. So that kind of thing happens. But I haven't gone a day without a video on this channel for 4 years-ish. I'd have to look how far back. But this upcoming week, we're going to miss a bunch of videos. This past Friday, I put up a video saying I'm taking the week off, sort of, and I'm not actually taking the week off. On an average week, I do 14 videos for the channel, and this upcoming week, I think I'm only doing 10. But specifically, Monday and Wednesday and Friday, there are going to be no videos whatsoever on the channel. They're going to be without content, and that's just because I'm giving myself the grace of, while at WSBG, I'm not going to actually film a bunch of extra videos to fill those spots. Again, I'm still doing 10 videos in the week I'm away, so taking the week off, sort of, is a very loose thing, but I might start doing this more often. I might start trying to find the ways and opportunities to give myself small breaks. Not big breaks, because big breaks, the problem with big breaks is a big break just means you have a larger pile of things to do when you get back, unless you're able to adapt the pile of things. And the problem is, with my life, let's say review copies, okay? Let's say review games. If I can say no to reviewing a game, that lowers the pressure. But once I've said yes, it's just something I have to do. If I take a week off, I have to do it a different week. So weeks off, and don't get me wrong, reviewing games is homework, but it's also fun. So there's that loose trade-off. See things I love and hate about being a content creator. But unless I can get better at saying no to more things, taking a week off doesn't actually do that much for me, because I still have to do most of the things at some point. But there might be ways to vent the steam a drop when I'm having a tough week. And in the case of the amount of things I've been juggling before WSBG, I was having a tough week, and I was sitting there and I was just laying back, and I was like, you know what? For the first time in 4 years, we're just going to have a few days without some videos. There'll still be a bunch of videos going up, primarily the review content, because again, that's stuff I did homework on, but we're going to drop a top 10 list. We're not going to have a 2 back not to back. We're not going to have a video to replace the 2 back not to back. It hurts. It hurts. Anyways, that was Friday's video. You can watch the whole thing on Friday for more. I'm really just redoing Friday's video at this point. Anyways, that was Friday's video, which brings us to today. Today, we have a revised week in review. That's this video right now that you're watching. If you made it this far, you already know that this is a thing that's happening. We also have a review for Tamari, as well as Citizens of the Spark, both going up today. You can check out those later if you want more information. And then next week, we're going to have primarily just review content. So things like Deliverance, Nature, Dinogenics, and more will be going up throughout the week. Some of these are already active campaigns. In the case of Dinogenics is already an active campaign. My content, well, technically I filmed it in time. Last week's video schedule was so packed. It was just ridiculously packed. I couldn't get things done in time. I filmed Deliverance in time, but I couldn't get videos up without just pushing things out. I don't want to have more than 14 videos a week. It feels like too much already at 14, so I just pushed it off to this week instead. Anyways, that is what we have as far as videos next week, as far as the games. So let's go ahead. Now we talked about the next week videos. let's go ahead and talk about the games. We're going to cover all the games, which just means we're going to break it up into two sections. There's the games I'm not going to have dedicated content for, and then the games that I did cover on this past week. And, games... How to phrase this? Games that I don't have dedicated content for are usually just going to be the games I played, but with specific... Well, okay. I'm like losing myself here. Let's try it up again. Let's take a step back. Okay, which brings us to the games. The games. So we're going to have two categories here. The games that you're not going to have dedicated content around, and then just a recap and more information around the games that we covered this past week. For the games without dedicated content, some games I played this past week. We had Side Effects, which I played Side Effects. I actually had a friend of the channel come down and visit for a few days. We played a whole bunch of games. One of them was Side Effects, which wasn't for me. It's very much a draw to, play to kind of game. You're basically just doing a take that engine where you hurt others and help yourself as you heal yourself, but open yourself up to side effects, and the first person to get rid of all their illnesses and cures and ailments wins. But it's kind of just to take that game, not for me. On the other hand, he got Spots as well from CMYK Games, which Spots was charming. Not necessarily for me, like, a game I need to own, but I did enjoy Spots. It's basically rolling dice, a little bit push your luck, assign them to various dogs over there. I enjoyed that game. And then after that, and again, you won't be seeing a dedicated review. That's the nature of having these over here. And then as far as some games I've played this past week that I already know and enjoy, I played Trailblazers again, because it's always a fun time. I love Trailblazers, and it's an excellent teaching game for me, because when you're going to teach games to people, games ideally you don't want to, especially if it's like people who aren't in your regular group, who are, visiting or whatnot, you don't want to crush people with that kind of thing. And so this week it was very helpful to play with Trailblazers with somebody else who's visiting, a different person who's visiting, because basically Trailblazers is a game that I love, and I'm not very good at for whatever reason. I haven't locked down how to be good at Trailblazers, so I once again lost the game. But I taught it, and I love it, and so I'm happy with that. We also have Captain Obvious, which I continue to come back to. I am continuously surprised that I continue to play Captain Obvious week in, week out, and continue to enjoy it. It tends to be a go-to for whenever I have a group of friends and I'm just trying to play a party game that they'll all enjoy. It has become one of my go-to party games. I don't know. It's not my favorite, but I like it, and it keeps happening, so it's good enough. And then we also have Cthulhu Death May Die. I got a chance to play that again this week, which is always good when I get a game of Cthulhu Death May Die in. In this case, it was playing through a scenario that we lost horribly at. It was a 4-player game, which is already not my favorite player count for Cthulhu Death May Die. And specifically, it was the Season 2, Episode 5, the Casino episode, which I've never loved. It's a little bit too much a knife fight in a gun club. Why'd you pick that one, Alex, you ask? And the answer is because... I've picked a lot of different episodes of Cthulhu Death May Die, and it's been a while since I picked that one because I haven't played it since the first time I played it, and it was just as much of a tense... It was just as packed. It doesn't give you the opportunity to explore. And honestly, I regret picking it because I was teaching 3 new people the game, and as much as I should have gone back to it at some point to better familiarize myself with that one, I didn't have to do it with new people. They still had a fun time, but it wasn't the best showing of Cthulhu Death May Die that I've had. It was still fun. It's just, one of my favorite things about Cthulhu Death May Die is that whenever you play, whenever you win, you think you could have lost, and whenever you lose, you think you could have won. That wasn't true today. And sometimes it's not true, but it's very rarely not true. In this particular session we played, we lost, and there was no point where we thought we would have won. It just didn't play out well in that sense. Anyways, that is basically the games that are not going to get a dedicated coverage. As far as the games we covered this past week on the channel, we have a few. We covered Curses and Covens with a review. We covered Parks Roll Right with a review. We covered Primal with a challenge. And then Heroes of Might and Magic and Cosmic Conquest both had a preview and a gameplay. I'm going to give you brief thoughts on all those, or at least to the extent that I can. Heroes of Might and Magic and Cosmic Conquest. Sadly, I can't give you thoughts on those right now because, as of the time of filming this, because of WSBG, I'm filming this a little more in advance than I usually do. All those went up on the channel, but as of filming this, I haven't played either Cosmic Conquest or Heroes of Might and Magic. They are both preview coverage. I can say that I'm excited for Heroes of Might and Magic. I do want to play the game. It looks like a overland kind of Mage Knight style game, which I do like that genre. I don't know if this one will hold up or not for me. We'll find out, but I think at the very least I'll have fun. Cosmic Conquest, again, haven't played it yet either. Meg's already dove into it and we'll be playing it shortly. But Cosmic Conquest is one that the general idea of the almost, I don't know, just having a dice throne style, rolling dice or whatnot against your opponent, I do tend to like that game. I just don't know if it will impress me or not. Will it be one of the genre that impresses me? I don't know. I may choose to talk about this next week. We'll see. Next week's going to be, we'll see. I'm trying to figure out whether we'll have a weekend review next week and how it's going to play out with WSBG. But effectively, I don't have a lot of information on those games right now because I'm filming this weekend review earlier than I normally do. What I can say is the Primal Challenge has that I've already gone through, and I don't want to spoil the challenge for you. What I will say is I enjoy the concept of the Primal Challenges, giving you a single shot mission that feels a little bit focused, like, hey, do this. I really do hope that they release these challenges at some point in a dedicated book. I think that would be amazing. I think it would be great if they could, not necessarily right away, but once once they have like 20, 30 challenges, to release a hardcover copy of the book that you can acquire that gives you these challenges. I would love that because I liked the challenge and I'm excited to play through more. Primal is one of my favorite games right now, and I love the opportunity to dive into it every single time I do. In particular, there's nice about the challenge because right now I'm going through a campaign where I have my character and my build, so it's nice to be able to dive into a side character. I still haven't played with any of the expansion characters, and maybe I will for one of the feature challenges, but for right now, I stuck with the characters that I'm already more familiar with. But again, there's a good opportunity to go back to my Sword and Shield person, who I haven't played in the Sword and Shield person in like, I don't know, 5-6 months. Not super long, but I haven't played it since I first dove into Primal when it showed up. I haven't played the Sword and Shield person, so it was nice to dive back in, get a different feel for the characters and all that. Which brings us to the two games I did cover a bit more, Curses and Covens and Parks Roll and Write. Both those were misses for me, unfortunately. Not bad games, but both were 3 out of 5s for me. Actually, I think Curses and Covens I gave a little bit lower. I have to double check. But Curses and Covens to me was... No, maybe I think I may have done both. I have to double check. I think I did a 3 out of 5 for both. I have to check again because I think so. But either way, Curses and Covens. Curses and Covens, though, Curses and Covens is one that I think the concept of the game can be fun, and I've had fun moments playing it. The problem is way too much of the time when you're playing Curses and Covens, it just feels like you're getting lucky. Like you can track things fairly well and then still get lucky in terms of finding the right thing, or the opposite. You can track things fairly poorly and get lucky in finding the right thing, or you can track things very well and get unlucky in terms of not finding the right thing. There's a lot of trying to figure out where stuff are and then picking cards randomly from players' hands, but the picking cards randomly kind of undermines some of the tracking that you're doing. So the concept of the game I kind of like, and I understand why they have to do it the way they do, but the end result is a game where even if I play well, I don't feel rewarded, and even if I play poorly, I don't. If I play well and lose, it's like, well, whatever, and if I play poorly and win, it's like, whatever. So it doesn't feel as much in control. I'm not as much in control of my own destiny, so that one for me is, I played it a few times, and it's an easy one to get rid of. And then similarly, Parks Roll and Hike, I really wanted to like this one, I was very excited for it, but the end result of the game is one that the puzzle of Parks Roll and Hike feels like checking off boxes for the sake of checking off other boxes, and it feels like they just structure the game that you always have diminishing returns, which you have to. When you build these games, when you build little cascading bonuses, you have to have diminishing returns or you can get stuck in an infinite loop. The difference is some of those games obfuscate that a bit more. For me, Parks Roll and Hike feels like they mathed it out and then made a game around it. I wasn't as enamored with everything that was happening. I've had fun playing with it. I played it solo, I played multiplayer, I played it several times with several other parks, but ultimately the end result was one that I was like, I just don't see the magic here. And it's not bad, but in a world of excellent roll and write games, I just think that those were both Curses and Covens and Parks Roll and Hike were unfortunately slightly forgettable games for me. And that is basically what we have as far as the week in review, as far as the games I covered this past week, which means it's time to cover the games I hope to be playing this upcoming week, of which I should be getting to at least 2 of these, possibly 3, very doubtful 4, especially considering WSBG, although maybe I'll play some of these at WSBG, that's a whole different conversation. We have Harmonies, which I've played several times and will be very easy to dive in and table, but I can't wait to dive in and table. We have Knitting Circle, which I've read the rules to this one and already taught my friends. I have not tabled it myself though, so I already know how to, and that one is going to be an easy one. Those are the 2 ones that are easy to table. These next 2, if I get to 1, I'll be happy. If I get to both, I'll be thrilled. But we have Wondrous Creatures from Bad Comic Games over here. I've just saw Dice Tower review, just went up for this one, but Wondrous Creatures, that I want to play this. I've wanted to play it since I saw the crowdfunding campaign. I really enjoyed their Life of the Amazonia. I just saw that they have coming up, they have the new C1 or whatever it's called, and so this one is one that I hope to table as soon as possible. And then lastly, and most likely the hardest, but one I'm very excited for, this may just be a rulebook that goes on the plane with me to WSBG, but we have Minos from Board and Dice. Minos is from Stan Kodonsky, and it utilizes the same system that he uses in Rurik, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And so I'm very excited to play a Euro game that utilizes the system from Rurik. That should be a game that I enjoy. I remember when I saw this at Gen Con, they started teaching the game, and like the people at Board and Dice at the booth, they were like, okay, this is how it works. And I immediately saw the system for Rurik, and I was like, oh, you do this and this and this. And they're like, have you played it? I was like, no, but I know the system and I love the system. I was so excited for it, and I still am so excited for it. This, by the way, if I don't love this game, it'll be one of my bigger disappointments. I have no reason to believe that I will love this game outside of the designer and the system, which I guess are both good reasons. But that also means that if I play this game and it doesn't work for me, this would be one of the biggest letdowns for me because I'm very hyped and buzzed for this game. Irrationally so. But we'll find out what happens. Anyways, that is your week in review, your news and week in review, the revised week in review. And until next time, I'm Alex Racco from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, I hope you have a good one.